Radio Company Business. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Lovely.
Well, welcome to another episode of Sky Blue History Podcast with me, Claudio, and of course, the club historian, Jim Brown. Now, it was the end of the transfer window, and there was much activity in the last 24 hours, including Jim, who tried to move me on to another podcast, but there was no takers, so I'm still here until at least the January window. So let's start with a big thank you to all our listeners who continue to give us a big thumbs up, and we've received some lovely emails, of course, complimenting us over the last few weeks, which is wonderful. There's a couple of people I'd like to mention, Matt Broadway and Mike Winterton, and no doubt Jim will elaborate on those messages. But firstly, good evening, Jim. And of course, we have to start with the departure of club captain Ben Sheaf. Now, 4 days before the start of the season, I posed a question to Steve Grizzovich on CWR, which midfield trio do we go with? And I felt that Frank was going to play with Grimes, Torp and Rodoni. I didn't feel sort of Sheaf and Grimes was working in our system. I was given stats just today, actually, by Jack, and it backs it up, surprisingly. And it really did surprise us, the amount of games we've won and lost when Ben's been playing. But I never expected him to be sold. Now, I know, Jim, you're a champion of Ben Sheaf, and I totally understand that, along with many, many fans, including me as well, actually, because he was a top player. So, Jim, tell our wonderful listeners your views on Ben Sheaf.
Well, I'm very sad indeed, because he was one of my favourite players. He has been ever since he came to the club on loan from Arsenal all those years ago. I think it was 2020 he came, didn't he?
Yeah,
first year up in the Championship. Let's face it. Less than 18 months ago, he was regarded as one of the best central midfielders in the Championship, and we all remember his performances at Molineux. And at Wembley, especially in the second half during the comeback. He won the Player of the Year that season, all the Players of the Year awards, didn't he? And I think he and I expected him to move that summer. There were a lot of clubs interested in him, and I heard that he was disappointed that he hadn't got a move. Now, whether that affected his form last season, but he started on the wrong foot. He got injured in Spain, I think, in a pre-season friendly, and that meant he missed the first few weeks of the season. And I wonder whether he was rushed back too soon. But other people have said that he was playing with injections most of last season, and there's no doubt that he had an injury-affected season and didn't perform to his best. Although I do remember near the end of last season, the Twitter account ccfc Analysis had done some stats and concluded from the stats that whilst, yes, he hadn't reached the heights of the previous season, he was still amongst the top 10 central midfielders in the division, even, at the lesser level, if you like. So I've got mixed feelings. I think on the other hand, we don't know if it was 1 year left on his contract or 1 year plus an option, but I don't think that Doug King will ever let a Coventry City player, run down his contract into the last year of his contract after the Callum O'Hare situation where he went on a free and we potentially lost out on several £1 million. So I think Doug wanted Ben out this summer, and I think it's probably the best deal we could have hoped for to get that much money. And it's probably the only club in the division who would have paid that money. Wrexham seem to have, bundles of cash to throw at players.
Well, it's currently the Coventry City B team, isn't it? With Dom Hyam going there, and I think Matt James, has he gone there? And there's somebody else.
Doyle.
So I mean, I suppose they're trying to build a team to make sure they don't get relegated, because it could easily happen at this level, regardless how much money you got. And they're probably getting the right players in to do that, to be honest.
Yes.
They've gone for some solid signings, haven't they, basically? That's what they've done.
They have.
But I think, Jim, with the injuries, you are right. I think he got rushed back 2 or 3 times too early. Even under Mark Robbins, the debacle of the Tottenham game, where he should never have come on. For what was 5 or 10 minutes, it seemed pointless.
Yeah.
And he wasn't ready. And he's had a couple of pre-seasons where he's come out of it not quite fit. And of course, with Doug, he's new to the club. He'll do it his way. And like you're saying, the 1 year to go, I don't think he's going to let people run out their contracts unless they're going to offer something like they did with Jamie Allen and Bidwell. And I think those that were offered is because it was probably triggered in their original contracts where, they have to offer it.
Yeah.
And if no one's coming in for them, they've got no choice, have they? They have to offer that contract.
No. Take your point you made at the start of the season about Torp being a better bet. Well, so far it's, your view has been borne out, but I'm concerned that they need another holding central midfielder. I think it was shown at Oxford on Saturday in the second half when we lost control of the game and their midfield just ran riot. Matty Grimes had a bit of a shaky second half, I thought, and Torp, for me, was too far up the pitch. He wasn't doing much defensively, and it would have been ideal to bring Ben on in that scenario. And if we go, it's all very well going to Oxford and playing this champagne football, but they won't be able to do. I don't think they will be able to do that when they go to Leicester or Ipswich or Southampton or Middlesbrough. These sort of teams. I think it's going to be. We're going to have to get a bit of defensive steel in midfield for those games. Now, maybe Josh Eccles is the man who's going to step in. There were strong rumours he was going to go in the summer.
I think I love these rumours because they're wrong every time, aren't they? It's always the wrong player that goes. Yeah. I've said this recently. Doug King, they're not letting anything out of the club anymore. So forget the rumours. It happens when it happens. I mean, it's not like that Charles Hughes was going to come in, or even we were going to pay the extra money. And actually, I think we've got the better bet. I think we've got somebody a lot cheaper, a lot more experience. A solid centre half in Luke, and I think that's a good signing. But regarding Torp, I thought the Oxford game, we might as well segue into it now. I felt Torp's performance was superb first half and very much Torp away from home last season performance in the second half, where there was a lot of performances where he just didn't turn up away from home, along with 2 or 3 other players. And it really showed in that second half, didn't it?
Yeah, I think you've got to give Oxford some credit for that second half. I think Gary Rout's a shrewd old bird, and he changed things at half time. They got in our faces far more. They let us run that first half. It was fantastic. I thought one of the best 45 minutes seen from City in a long, long time. But yeah, he changed things. So we've got to give them some credit. They found chinks in our armour. You know, the ball over the top on the high to the high line. A lot of them going out to the left flank, where we know that Jay De Silva, pushes up a little too much sometimes, and Kitchen was found out for pace. So going back to Wolfenden, whose place is he going to take, if any?
I mean, ideally, you want all three playing, don't you? Really, but
we won't see
that. No, that's not going to happen, is it? So I think he's going to come in for Thomas.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you keep giving Kitchen the captain's armband and then drop him? That just seems weird to me. To do that, what's that saying? That's not going to instill you with confidence, is it?
I think Bobby will be unlucky to be dropped because he's. If you look at the goals we've conceded this year, they're all set pieces, as everybody says. 8 set pieces we've conceded, and when you concede a set piece, the whole team have got to take responsibility, because they're all, for every goal, I think they were all in the penalty area. Whether it's the free kick at Derby or Brannigan's free kick on Saturday, the long throws, they were all in the penalty area. So they've got to take responsibility.
I mean, we did joke, didn't we? I think a couple of weeks ago, or even last week, saying that this reminds us of the late 70s, where we're going to have, if we want to win games, it looks like we're going to have to outscore teams, basically, because we are going to concede goals. No. It's great to watch, but keep them out, boys. That's the thing, isn't it? Got to keep them out.
Yeah. That was the motto of the Busby Babes. We just go out and score more than them, and it'd be fantastic. When we win 7-1 and people start moaning we conceded 1, and at Derby, we won 5-3. What about the 3 goals conceded? Dreadful defending. Who cares if we win 5-3? I don't mind. Yes. I know Frank would. I know all managers would, but for the fans, for me, it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, and I couldn't see. I mean, Oxford lost 4 in a row. There's no way they were going to lose another game. I didn't think. No. I always felt. I know they lost 6-0 during the week, but that was probably their reserve team they'd put out, and I thought that's not going to happen. We're not going to batter them.
But we should have done.
Well, yeah. First half should have been 4 or 5. Yeah.
So maybe a bit of game management issue as well there.
Yeah. Because you aren't going to take all your chances all the time, which we proved on Saturday. So if you're 2-1 up, just don't. But I don't think we're going to change the way we play, though. I don't think we are. I think that's it. We're going to go high line and attack, and I think that's how he's setting the team up. So I'm sure most weeks we'll come on there going, I cannot believe we've let in 3 goals, but what about the 4 we scored?
Yeah. We'll be happy, won't we?
Exactly. So you're disappointed not with the transfer activity in general, or do you think it's as much? I mean, I put this out there, and you may correct me, but I think financially we are probably the most stable we've been since the late 60s. Because I know we're buying the ground, or he's bought it, whatever, but we haven't got much debt, have we? And at the minute, I think we're in a really good position financially.
Well, we haven't got any debt to outsiders, which is good. We don't owe banks money, which was the problem in the 70s and in the 2000s. We owe, Doug has obviously put money in, and you've got some risk that if Doug loses interest or has problems in his other businesses. If you remember at Derby, Mel Morris got fed up with pumping all that money into Derby and completely lost interest and ran the club into the ground, and they went into administration. that's always the risk when you've got one man. And the same, you could say the same about Preston. Their guy died, didn't he? The owner died, and if that happens, how do the family, how do the people who inherit the club feel about it? Do they want to prop up the club by pumping in 15 or 20 million a year? So, I'd be interested to see the accounts next year for next February for the last season. But I suspect we'll have lost 5 or 6 million in operating terms, and that will have to be made up almost in the transfer market, like it was the previous year.
Yeah, so I suppose if we can get into the playoffs with the way he's running it, it's not too bad, is it? I mean, at the minute, it's well run. It's well run, and with the purchase of the stadium, I mean, Ed Sheeran is at the conference centre in December. That's a good booking. I won't be going because I don't like him, but £95 a ticket. I know we don't get that money, but that's.
And isn't Bob Dylan playing there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's interesting that he's bought the ground and straight away we've got Ed Sheeran turning up.
Yes.
I think, but so that's all good. That's all good. I think. So I think in general, then, transfer market out of 10. I mean, we're talking the whole of the month, not just the last couple of days, obviously. Would you like to send anybody else in, basically?
What I can't work out, I don't know if Doug was serious about buying 2 centre-backs or whether he was playing Hull and Ipswich off together.
Right.
That's what I don't know. Perhaps he wanted both of them.
Yeah.
Because if we were looking at a perfect world, I think we probably would want upgrades in both centre backs, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
So maybe, in January when Hull are propping up the Championship, Hull might cave and we get Charlie.
Yeah. Well, or the player just says, I want to go.
Yeah.
There's that as well.
Yeah.
I think to be honest, I think it's as much as we can do at the minute with the policy we've got. We're not going to get any loan players in. I know the keeper was an emergency. I don't think loans are going to happen, full stop.
No. There were a lot of rumours about Chelsea youngsters, weren't there?
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. You've got to conclude that Doug's sticking by the no loans, although Rushworth is a loan, but maybe the goalkeeper is slightly different. Yeah.
That was an emergency, wasn't it? It wasn't, I think, basically. Yeah, I think it was. So, Jim, take it away.
Well, yes. I think we had 2 lovely emails this week or in recent weeks from followers. And the first one was a chap called Mike Winterton, who lives in Coventry, Stivechel, I think. Stivechel, that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And he told me a while ago that he just had his 50th anniversary, his first City game, which was against Ipswich in March 75, and we won 3-1. But more interesting than that, he wrote to me last week about his memories, his dad's memories. His dad is Philip. He's 82 now, and he lives in New Jersey, in a place called Cinnaminson in New Jersey. He moved to the States in 1978. And Mike tells me his first game was in March 1958 at a home game with Walsall. And this was the season that the old 3rd Division South and North ended. And the clubs knew at the start of the season that the top the top half of each division, top half of the north and the top half of the south, would go into a new third division. And the bottom half of the two divisions would go into the new fourth division. So it was a scramble to stay in the top half and not be in the, if you like, the league's basement. And you've got to say, when Philip started going, this was City were on their way to Division 4. And it's probably one of the most depressing times of being a Coventry fan. You know, the 50s weren't very good at all after we got relegated in 52. And it sort of reached its nadir, if you like, in early 58, when we were heading, as I said, for Division 4. But we had a bit of an upturn in March. I think we beat Aldershot the week before 6-0, and then we whacked Walsall 4-1. Billy Frith had come in as manager in the autumn, almost with the view that we weren't going to get into the Division 3. We were going to be in the basement, and just to steady the ship and do his best. And he signed a guy called Ray Straw, centre forward, who was quite a renowned goal scorer. He scored goals, wherever he went. And although he was getting on a bit, I think he was maybe early 30s when he came to Coventry. He did have a really good season in 57-8 and 58-9. And he got a hat-trick against Walsall in Philip's first game.
Isn't he up there, though, in the scoring charts for Coventry, Ray Straw? Is he?
Yeah, he would be. He'd be up there in maybe fourth or fifth place. Yeah, something like that.
Of course, of those listening who didn't realise, obviously, in your third division, south and north, you have at least a chance of getting promoted into the second division, which is now the Championship. Of course, once Coventry went down into the fourth division, you've now got a whole 2 jumps, haven't you, really, to try and you have to get out of the fourth division, then out of the third division. So it became harder, didn't it, to get into the Division 2?
Well, it did. You're quite right. But on the other hand, there was only one promoted from third division north and one from third division south. But with the new setup, there were 4 promoted from Division 4 and 2 promoted to Division 2, if you're with me.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it must have been boring, though, because if you're in top, you could have won the league by March.
Oh, it happened regularly in Division 3 South. Sides were, so far ahead, and there was obviously no playoffs. It did get pretty tedious, and as a result, gates near the end of the season, if you were mid-table, were pretty poor.
So I'm struggling to remember our matches before playoffs and that now, how when we used to just rock up and you knew you couldn't go up or down. It's much better now, isn't it? I think it just keeps the interest going, at least till end of March for some clubs.
Yeah, so just looking at Ray Straw, he got 78 goals for Coventry in 140. Well, he's actually got more. He got 78 leagues, 6 in the cup. So 84 goals in just over 150 appearances.
That's brilliant.
Pretty good record. And he was he was only 20. He was only 24 when he came to Coventry. So I beg his pardon. It wasn't a veteran.
Oh, they all look old in those days, didn't they?
Yeah, and in that 57-8 season, he got 14 in 23. Pretty good.
That's good.
Following season, when we won promotion from Division 4, he got 27 from 44, and 20 in 59-60, 17 in 60-61. And I saw him at the tail end of his career playing for Lockheed Leamington.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he played for Lockheed. I don't know how many goals he got. I think he was one of those guys that just carried on scoring. He just found his level and carried on scoring. So that was Philip's first game. But he's told Mike about some of his memories, and the first one he talks about is the George Hudson wonder goal against Southampton. Now this was in 65-6, near the start of the season, when we played Southampton away and at home on successive midweeks.
Mm-hmm.
We lost 1-0 at the Dell on the 8th of September, a Martin Chivers winner. And the following Tuesday, we entertained Southampton, who were top of the league. And on 32 minutes, George scored his wonder goal. He flicked it up on his thigh, flicked it over Tony Knapp, who was the Southampton centre half, over the keeper and in.
When I read that, I was reading it. I thought, didn't Tony Knapp play for us?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what's he doing flicking it over our own play? But obviously he was playing for Southampton.
Yes, well, and he just bamboozled Knapp. He totally bamboozled him. And then the second goal, just after half-time, was Dietmar Brooks' worldie, where he hit it from 35 yards, and it just went in the roof of the net. Poor old Southampton had their goalkeeper carried off after, I think, just after the hour mark, and Southampton basically collapsed, and we Dave Clements got one, Ernie Machin got one, Mick Kearns got a penalty 2 minutes from time, and Terry Payne scored a consolation goal for them.
There'd be no goalkeeper then, sub, would there? There'd just be 10 players. There'd be no subs then, would there?
No subs.
No.
Yes, that was the first season of subs.
Oh, was it? Oh, right, okay.
But according to my record, they didn't use a sub, but a guy called Cliff Huxford went in goal.
Oh. Had they made a change? You could only change. Was the first season if it was an injury? Supposedly, it was like a.
Oh, yes, it had to be an injury, definitely. Yeah. Oh, look, I beg your pardon. It was the game at Southampton where the goalie went off, and they did use the substitute.
Oh, they did.
But it was Hollowbred at the Dell, was the goalkeeper. But for the return a week later, they had a guy called Godfrey in goal, so he wasn't their number one keeper.
Right. So
that probably had an effect. So interesting. The crowd was just short of 30,000, which was pretty good. And we went second in the table. Saints were still top after that game. And of course, Saints won promotion at the end of that season.
Yeah.
And if that defeat at the Dell had been the other way around, we'd have won promotion.
Blimey.
Yeah. So that was the first of Philip's memories, and I think Mike hears these stories all the time from when he was over in the States last week visiting him, so no doubt he got all the stories again. But they are fascinating.
Yeah.
And then in 67-8, I think his dad was a real regular. He went home and away watching City. And he went to Stoke in 1968. This was Easter Tuesday, when George Curtis, who was Philip's hero, he came back from his broken leg. It was his first league game since he broke his leg. And George played up front because, to be frank, he couldn't get in the side at centre half because Maurice Setters was playing so well. So he played up front, and he clattered Gordon Banks in the first 5 minutes. That was an interesting game because Stoke had slipped down the table and were in deep doo-doo. I think they'd lost something like 5 or 6 on the bounce to slide into the relegation zone. And City's form, is their home form, had sort of given us hope that they were going to stay up.
Yeah.
Because we played them at Highfield Road the day before on Easter Monday, and that was set. We beat them 2-0, and that was Stoke's 7th defeat in a row.
Blimey!
So they were in deep trouble, and we absolutely murdered them at the Victoria Ground. We were 2-0 up. Ernie Hannigan scored in the first half. Willie Carr got one just after half time. Mahoney pulled one back within a minute. And then 5 minutes later, Neil Martin made it 3-1 from the penalty spot. And a chap called Bill Bentley pulled one back 12 minutes from time. So it's 3-2. And Peter Dobing got the equaliser in the last minute to get their point. And there's a bloody pitch invasion by the Stoke fans. They were so, excited. Because there was quite a big Coventry following. We were all in do you remember the Boothen end at Stoke? Yeah, we were all in. There was a lot of aggro in the ground. Not a policeman in sight. And I do remember it wasn't very PC, but poor old Gordon Banks I think the City fans thought he looked like a monkey. So somebody had brought in a crate of bananas and were throwing bananas.
Really? Blimey.
Banks, yeah. And chanting, monkey chants, which was not very good at all. And George, as Mike tells me, George got kicked on his leg break, where the spot where he'd broken his leg.
Right.
And he went off injured.
Oh, right.
And everyone was thinking, oh God, first game back, he's injured. He's broken his leg again, sort of thing. But it turned out he hadn't. He'd just taken a knock. That was an interesting night, and a lot of bricks and things being thrown at the coaches. If you remember the old Victoria Ground, there was a massive asphalt car park behind the stand, and it was never full because it was so big. You'd need sort of 50,000 inside the Victoria Ground. Yeah. And there was massive potholes in it, nobody repaired. And I do remember getting on the Priory coach after the game, and there was a lot of aggro in that car park. Famous night. And in actual fact, we were 19th after that game out of 22 teams.
Right.
Stoke were 21st. Let's say they were really in deep trouble. But they got out of it. They picked themselves up. They had some good players. Peter Dobing was a top player. And they had George Eastham as well. A guy on the wing called Harry Burrows who, would murder some fullbacks. That was a good team. Oh, and Roy Vernon, who although he was in the sort of latter stage of his career, he'd won the league with Everton in 60.
Was Jimmy Green off there then?
No, he wasn't there. No. But so it looked like our second away win for most of the second half, but we let it slip at the death. So the next memory is just a few weeks later when he went to Southampton for the famous final game at the Dell, where we had to get something and also rely on Sheffield United slipping up. And he drove down to Southampton in his 850cc Mini. And he says all the Saints fans were laughing at our bandy-legged, balding dwarf at the centre half, which was Maurice Setters, of course, and what Ron Davis, their Welsh international centre forward, was going to do to him. But apparently Maurice was leaping like a salmon and was man of the match in the 0-0 draw that kept us up. Who knew that would be the first of many last day escapes? But yeah, I remember that game vividly, actually. I remember the whole day vividly because I was at school and supposed to be at school on the Saturday morning. And
you weren't.
I wasn't. But I was I wasn't a great cricketer at school, but because of my statistical bent, I was the scorer.
Oh, right.
And there wasn't a game on that day because it was quite early. I think we'd just come back from Easter holidays. So I don't think the cricket season had really got going. But I told my mother that I was the scorer and we had an away game at Solihull, I think. So I'd be back late.
Could have picked somewhere further than Solihull to be back late.
I think that was the furthest we travelled, actually.
Yeah. At least when I went on my Vespa, I didn't say anything. Actually, I just went, didn't I?
So I think I've probably told the story before, but I remember catching the bus down from. I was cycling past the bus stop at Whitnash on Heathcote Lane, and my friend Dave Freeman was standing at the bus stop waiting for the Midland Red bus down into town, and he shouted to me. I was on my bike travelling down into town, and he said, "Aren't you going to the game, Jim?" I said, "Yeah, I'll see you later." And he was bemused why I was on my bike and not getting the bus. But I took my bus. I rode into Leamington, parked my bike, locked against some railings somewhere, and was there on the Priory coach going to Southampton. And I always remember, this is before the A34 was like a dual carriageway. You tootle through all the villages between Oxford and Southampton, and we stopped at Newbury. And I remember the Priory coach pulling into the square at Newbury, and the guy said, "Oh, well, we have a half an hour stop here." So the guys I was with, and I got to know a few of the guys. There was a guy called Phil Donahue from Covington, and he said, "Right, we're going to have a pint in Newbury." So we tootled into this pub in the square, and it was. I remember vividly. It was 1 and 9pence a pint.
Blimey.
In the centre of Newbury, and I couldn't believe that. I think where I used to go, it was the tavern in Leamington. It was like 2 and 6 for a pint. Couldn't believe this. You could get it for 1 and 9pence. For the younger listeners, that was about 9p, wasn't it? Yeah, about.
Well, I'm one of those younger listeners because it was 9pence.
Yeah. So we tootled off to Southampton, and of course I don't know what happened, but I went in the Dell at the wrong end. I ended up in the Milton Road end. They reckon there were 7,000 City fans there.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many Coventry coaches parked up along. It was really near the the old Hampshire cricket ground. They parked, and because I ended up in the wrong end and amongst all these Southampton fans, and I couldn't get round the to the other end, and it was a battling display by the Sky Blues. Ernie Hunt told me later that they bribed the Southampton winger Sydenham to was it Sydenham? No, it was the ex. It wasn't Sydenham. It was it Thompson? I think he was ex-Wolves, and so Ernie knew him.
All right.
And this is Ernie's story. We don't know, but he said the money changed hands. But you could believe that when you saw Ron Davis jumping against Morris Setters, because Davis virtually won nothing in the air, and he was about a foot taller than Morris.
But Morris was he's a seasoned professional, wasn't he? I mean, he was a top player when he was at United, wasn't he? Man United.
And he knew how to jump.
Yeah.
You know, he did end up with a bloody nose that day. I remember his shirt being, the front of his shirt being covered in blood. But a real battling performance. And the final 20 minutes, we just played it out. We just, there was no risks taken. It was, backs to the wall. But unlike these days, or even unlike the Bristol City game in '77, that the fans didn't really know what was going on. Cool. It later transpired that the City bench knew that Sheffield United were losing and knew that a point would be enough to keep us up. But the fans, the general fans, didn't know. Maybe a few had radios, but there wasn't that sort of. It didn't go round the ground that the Blades were losing.
Was that? Sorry, Jim. Was there a desperation to stay up in those days as well, like there is now, like further along the line, say in the '80s?
Yeah.
Was it really desperate were the fans desperate to stay up? It was that feeling even then, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, it's our first season in the First Division, so this was a landmark season. And I do remember getting back to the coach and not realising until I got on the coach and everybody was celebrating. I didn't realise that we'd stayed up. I didn't realise that Sheffield United had got beaten by Chelsea at home as well.
Right.
Yeah. So that was Philip's next memory. And then he moves on about a year to the game against Leicester at home in '69. Again, this was a relegation battle. You well know it was Leicester eventually went down, but only after they got to the FA Cup final, and as a result of the cup run and a really bad winter where they had a lot of postponed games. They had 5 games to play after we finished our programme, which is something which wouldn't happen these days, obviously. So there were 41,000 at Highfield Road, one of the biggest crowds ever.
Did Leicester have to get 7 points out the last 5 games or something? Was it?
That's right.
That's
right. Yeah.
Which is, 5 games, 7 points. That's 2 points for a win. That was a massive upturn, wasn't it? Really. So we were still in a good position, weren't we? I think. Would you say?
Yeah, but you didn't know because Leicester had fought like demons before the cup final, and they fought like demons afterwards. But I think it was just too much. I think the legs had gone, and and they got fantastic support. I think 3 of the 5 games were at home, and I think most of them were 39,000 crowds with fantastic atmosphere. I remember Rod Dean going over to a couple of those games to watch Leicester, and of course the bribing rumours were rife as well. According to Ernie again,
Sounds like Ernie's heavily involved.
He was the middleman. He was the middleman with Everton, because he'd bid at Everton earlier in the season, and he had the brown envelopes, according to him, for the Everton players, but it didn't work because Everton managed to get a point. Yeah, I'll just check that. Yeah, it was the 1st of April when we played Leicester at home, the midweek game, and we, after that game, before that game, we were only 2 points ahead of them, and they had 4 games in hand.
Oh.
So it looked pretty bleak. We were trying to drag. We were still, I think we were 4 points behind Sunderland and Stoke and Forest going into that Leicester game. But that win against Leicester really was, that was the decider, if you like.
Right. Yeah.
In retrospect, it kept us up. But it was controversial, it was, there was, Neil Martin got the winner in the 88th minute.
Wow.
With a diving header. But, about 3 minutes before, their guy, a guy called Brian Greenall, not Brian Greenhoff, Brian Greenall, he was the substitute for Leicester, went down in the penalty area under a challenge from George Curtis. And, the Leicester fans were convinced it was a penalty, and the referee played on. And I say 2 or 3 minutes later, Neil Martin, popped up to head the winner and past Peter Shilton, of course.
Is that the referee later seen being handed a brown package by Ernie Hunt?
Yes. Yeah. And his name was Arthur Diamond. He was a real
package full of diamond
that night. Yeah. Yeah. So, and just talking about that Leicester run-in. I'll just get it up because it's.
While you do that, I'll just read what he wrote. He said that there's the 1-0 win in the relegation battle, huge crowd at Highfield Road, and my dad and my granddad nipping sharply into the off-licence in Catherine Street to avoid a marauding gang of skinheads. Apparently it was hairy that day, the first time he'd seen any aggro.
Yeah.
Wow. That was Catherine Street was a good spot for it, because that's just by the main stand, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a side street, isn't it? And there's a shop on the corner there. And we used to come out the main stand, and the away fans used to come round that way sometimes, and there'd be the City fans coming through the alleyway where the TV cameras used to be around that side bit. And we used to come out, and they'd all be fighting outside the entrance, basically. Yeah. And we're like, hold on a minute, we're in the posh seats. This shouldn't be happening here.
Yeah.
And it'd end up going down the road, down, I think, is it Britannia Street? I think it was down that way, onto the park. It used to carry on, didn't it, down at Gosford Park?
Gosford Green, yeah.
Yeah, Gosford Green. You had to have your wits about you in those days, didn't you? Definitely.
You certainly did.
Yeah.
So just going back to those 5 games that Leicester had, they on the 26th of April they lost the cup final to Man City, and they faced 3 days later. They were at home to Tottenham, and they won 1-0 with an Alan Clark goal. He's not popular with Leicester fans, though.
Oh, really?
No, I hear John Holmes on his podcast, because he was only there a season. He signed from Fulham, and he was only there a season. Of course, he got relegated, and he moved on. So he got the winner against Tottenham, And then they went to Ipswich on the Saturday and lost 2-1.
Yeah, Ipswich always a hard place to get a result from.
Yeah. Again, Clark scored their goal.
Right.
And then the following Monday, they were at home again to Sunderland and won 2-1.
Ooh.
So now we are getting nervous.
Yeah.
You know, they got 4 points. Ali Brown got 2 goals against Sunderland, 32,000 crowd. And then there was a break, 9-day break. I don't know why.
What?
A 9-day break before they faced Everton at home. And this is the game that Ernie said it was brown envelope time. Graham Cross for Leicester, Alan Ball for Everton, 1-1 draw, 41,000 at Filbert Street.
Right. So I don't understand how the bribe would work in that game then. What, Everton to lose, he thought? Or Everton to...
No, Everton to win.
So who's taking the bribe then?
Everton.
Yeah, but how are they going to affect a win? You can affect a
Well,
loss.
try harder, mate. Try harder. You know, it's the end of the season, Everton's final game. Yeah, they're on the beach, aren't they?
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I thought it'd work the other way. It'd be easier to lose a game than to win a game.
Yeah. Well, on paper, Everton were the better side. They just
They won the league. Had they won the league?
No, they won the league the following year.
Following year.
Yeah.
Well, Leeds won the league. Did Leeds? Who were the champions? I'm trying to think. 69.
Yeah, Leeds. Yeah.
Leeds. Yeah. Of course, that's where Alan Clark went to, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah. So, so that left it with the final game. And who did they have to face in the final game? The final Saturday.
Man United.
Man United.
3-2.
Noel Cantwell, Man United.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure Matt's had a word with the boys. You know, let's do it for Noel. Because let's face it, Noel only left there 18 months previously, so all his old muckers were still there. You know, Bobby Charlton, George Best, Crerand, Fulk, Styles, all these guys were all Cantwell's mates.
3-1, 3-2 was it?
Well, 3-2, but only after David Nish scored in the first minute for Leicester.
Blimey.
Yeah.
And then he got Ernie waving the brown paper bag from the stand. Have a look at lads, come on.
Yeah.
So basically, Ernie engineered that last month of the season to make sure we stayed up. By the sounds of things,
Yes. Yeah, if you can get hold of
allegedly.
Yeah, if you can get hold of the News of the World from it would have been probably the early 80s or late 70s when Ernie revealed, got paid by the News of the World for his story, and talked about those 2 games plus the Wolves game in '69,
Right.
which was a couple of weeks. It was our third from last game of the season when we went to Molineux. Ernie himself put us ahead in the first half. And then the story goes that Wolves got a free kick about 30 yards out in the second half. And apparently nobody had told Peter Knowles about the brown envelope. And a couple of Wolves players were standing over the ball, contemplating who was going to take it. And Peter Knowles roared in from nowhere and whacked it in from 30 yards.
But he was popular.
Yeah, that was Ernie's story anyway. Yeah.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it, what did go on in the past?
Yeah.
I mean, famously, you had the guys from Sheffield Wednesday, didn't you, in the mid-'60s, the betting scandals. Peter Swan. I mean, these are guys who he was like, they reckon he's going to be the top England centre half. He probably would have played in the World Cup. He was.
He was England. He was the best England centre half at the time. And Tony Kay and Peter Swan were both England internationals. Yeah, they're both good chance of being in the World Cup, and actually that opened the door for Jack Charlton. He hadn't played for England before Swan got suspended, or
And
suspended, signed away.
People want to look it up. It's a hell of a suspension for what happened. Way worse than you'd get now. It ended his career, didn't it? Really, but for what seemed, a silly thing to do, a mistake in some ways. It wasn't,
Well, you see, there was a link between Ernie and the betting scandal, because the man, one of the men who went, who was banned for life, was a chap called Jimmy Gould, and he was at Swindon with Ernie Hunt.
That, by the way, that was out of the blue segue. That wasn't it? That just come from nowhere, and somehow it's gone full circle back to Ernie Hunt, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Yeah,
it has. So I think that's a really good, some really lovely memories from Mike's dad. Really lovely memories, and I was at all of those games, and it's prompted my memory to talk about them. And it was a golden. Those 2 seasons were, we had a rough time of it. 2 relegation battles, but there's some great memories there. Some fabulous memories. Lots of away trips where we came away with nothing. We won 3 away games in 2 seasons. And the mood on the Priory coach coming home was pretty low in most away games.
Yeah.
So our other the other guy, Matt Broadway, he sent us a lovely email as well. First of all, I want to say a massive thank you for what you and Claudio have put together. I absolutely love hearing about the history of this great club. I do hope it continues. There are lots of good Sky Blue podcasts out there, but I don't think any of them come close to what you both have managed to put together. Well, thank you, Matt. That's lovely. My first game as a 6-year-old was in 1997. Oh goodness, he's Generation X, isn't he?
Yeah.
1-0 win over Southampton at Highfield Road. I'm still not entirely sure why my parents picked this match. It must have been something with a free ticket from the local school. My father is a Villa fan. My mother has little or no interest in football. Ever since that Tron Saltfett goal midway through the first half, there was no other team for me. I don't remember the goal, but just the celebrations. I was fascinated by the noises from the crowd, the historic-looking stadium. I remember feeling so small going through the turnstiles. I remember freezing with excitement when I first laid eyes on the pitch. I've seen a lot of highs and lows in the years since, and I've been a season ticket holder for many years. And he talks, he echoes what so many football fans say, when they first go to a match.
Definitely.
It's all about the atmosphere. You don't remember much about the game, but just being there, and it's something else. If it's the first time you go, it's the first time you experience anything like that in your life, and at
that age, everything looks massive. I mean, my nephews and nieces go now, and it must look huge. I mean, somewhere like when they went to Wembley, I mean, it looks massive to me when we went to those games.
Yeah.
For little, 6-year-olds, it must look like an enormous, something out of this world.
Yes.
And I was getting goosebumps reading that, because it does bring back the feelings you had when you first went. The smell of those burgers cooked in water for some reason. I don't know why, but they were cooked in water, definitely. Sloppy burgers.
Yes.
Very wet onions.
And of course, that season, it ended. It was a very successful season. Dion Dublin got a cap for England, and City should have got to at least the semi-final of the FA Cup.
Is that the season we only lost 2 at home, Villa and Leicester?
Yeah.
Because my ex-father-in-law from my first wife was a Leeds season ticket holder, and he moved down here and became a Cov fan. He got a season ticket with me.
Yeah.
And I said, and he said to me, he says, "I thought you said you were rubbish because you hadn't lost a game at home for almost
Yeah.
half a season. Then we played Leicester and Villa and lost both." And I says,
That's right.
"We drew a load. I think we drew about 10 matches."
We won. We won 8 and lost. Drew 9, lost
Yeah.
2.
And
But
and he
just
said,
looking at,
he just
yeah,
said, "I
just
thought you said you were rubbish." I says, "Well,
yeah.
we normally are."
You know, I think that was my son's first game at Highfield Road.
Really?
Yeah, he was a bit older. He would have been 8 at the time. But I was just looking at that, and I think old Dion was under a bit of pressure. He got a hat-trick on the opening day, but he'd then gone 5 or 6 games without a goal.
Really? Yeah.
And we were struggling for goals a bit. And in fact, we drew 4 out of the next 6 games. We drew 0-0. It wasn't really until just before Christmas that things took off. Strangely, after McAllister got injured.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and Oggy got injured as well. Or did he get dropped?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, he was dropped. Headman came in for the Tottenham game in December. So it's a couple of other interesting points that Matt makes. One topic I'm looking at researching, a football researcher, and finding out more is the very first years. How did we become formed and where did we play, etc.? Are you able to recommend any books and reading material? Well, I certainly can, Matt. Lionel Bird, who's one of our historians, he's written an excellent book called The Vocalists, which tells the story of the formation of Coventry City, well, the formation of singers, because that was their nickname, the Vocalists. The singers, get it? The Vocalists.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get that then. I was trying to work that out. Brilliant.
Yeah. So he's written an excellent book telling that the story of those early days. Also, David Brassington was one of the authors of Singers to Sky Blues, which is an excellent book. Not as detailed as Lionel, but it's got some really interesting stories about those early days. So there's a couple of books, Matt, you might be interested in. And my book, The Ghosts of a Vanished Stadium, which is the story of Highfield Road, tells the story from sort of 1898 onwards.
That's in my downstairs toilet, along with all your other books, Jim.
Good. One topic I'd like to be explored on the podcast, if you and Claudia would be open to it, the darker side of the club.
Oh,
ooh,
we covered some of that already tonight, by the sounds of it.
We have, haven't we? Some of the worst moments we've faced, maybe some bad board decisions, poor player sales, and things like that. Well, we've always talked about talking about the Berry scandal, haven't we, in 1920?
Yeah.
We could talk about the bad board decisions in the 1950s and so on. But yeah, that's something for the list, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. On a personal note, for you and Claudia, what 3 players did you never see play that you wished you were around for?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, now Matt's 3 are Clary Borton. Yes.
Yeah, I think I'd go with that. That's been a goal scorer. That's
Tommy Hutch. And after listening to one of the earlier podcasts, I would love to have seen Reg Matthews in goal. He sounded wonderful.
Oh, you see, that's a good shout. Definitely Clary Borton, because the fact he's a record goal scorer.
Yeah.
George Hudson, because I just want to know, was he as good as people say he was?
Yeah.
And as for Reg Matthews is a great shout.
Yeah. I'd love to see Reg. I never saw Reg, so I did for Derby, but not for Coventry. I'd go for Borton, Matthews, and my third choice would be Leslie Jones from the 30s, who was an outstanding player who was sold to Arsenal.
But you see, I'd never saw George Curtis play.
No.
You see,
that would be an experience.
Yeah, because he used to frighten the living daylights out of me when I used to walk up to him when I was a kid. He just
Yeah.
looked like a brick outhouse.
A man mountain. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So thank you, Matt Broadway and Mike Winterton. Thank you so much for your lovely emails and for helping us put together a podcast. Before we go, I know I talked about the Sky Blue archive and the problems we were having with our website, and we have our appeal has got us quite a few volunteers.
Brilliant.
And we're going to take up their offers to help us start inputting the data. We've set up a new website, and it's just being populated now. And in a few days, a couple of weeks, we'll be ready to use our volunteers to start loading the data. So thank you so much for everybody who's volunteered. And if anybody else wants to volunteer, give me a shout. claryborton@gmail.com. The other thing I wanted to mention was that we've got a fantastic program collection in the archives, over 3,000 programs now, and we are still obtaining them. We've got, I think, almost every home program back to 1959 now. But if anybody wants to donate them, feel free to donate. Doesn't have to be pre-59, it can be any. And we are now offering a service where people can ask us to provide a program for people's first ever game. So if they've got, if they know when their first game was and they'd like the program, we're offering a service where they can buy it, and the proceeds go towards the Sky Blue archive. So if you've got a game where you wanted the program for, maybe it was your first game, just drop me a line and we'll try and help out, because we've got a lot of duplicates, a hell of a lot of duplicates.
It's not my first game, but have you got the Sheffield Wednesday Cup tie, the single sheet from 74?
No.
That's the only one I want. It's so frustrating.
The other thing is if anybody would like to make a financial donation, however small, to the Sky Blue archive, we haven't got a lot of funds. We're using the funds to buy some of the older programs through dealers and what have you. We're also getting some help with the club with some storage materials, but we need to fund the new website. We need to buy more programs. Anybody's would like to donate, then drop me a line. I think when we get the website up and running, we're going to have a donation page. But in the meantime, feel free to drop me a line to help us out.
That sounds great. I've just come across something. Hold on, I have to move away from the screen a minute. Keep talking, Jim. I'll be there.
Okay. So the one thing we haven't mentioned tonight is that we had a former player lined up. I won't reveal his name, but unfortunately he had to pull out at short notice because his father's poorly. So we wish his father the best wishes in his recovery, and he's promised to come on in the next few weeks and talk to us. And it'll be a very interesting former player who was a scout in his, or he's a scout now actually, and I'm sure he's got some great scouting stories for us. But we won't reveal his name until we've got him lined up.
He's a scout for a championship club, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got all this stuff here.
Lovely.
I'm holding pictures of Coventry City lineups, but there's absolutely. I've just found them. I've got from 1968 to 82, and there's loads of them. Players, so they'll be coming up the archives way, so you can do whatever you want to do with them, basically.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I've got other stuff as well. There's I mean, I've got loads of stuff, Jim. I need to just get it over to you. Basically, anyway.
Yes, I think we've overrun a bit tonight, but should we call it a day?
We're deep into injury time, aren't we? Time added on now.
Yeah.
Anything could happen.
Yes.
And there's no late signings either, so that's it. So we'll be back back next week, won't we? I think.
Hopefully, yes.
Yes. Thank you all very much. Remember to like and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, which will go out after it's been on Spotify, contact Jim at claryborton@gmail.com. It's on the ticker all the time as we're talking. If you've got any memories, like Jim says, do get in contact. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all the kind messages. It makes it worthwhile, doesn't it, Jim? Because we're now episode 44, I think, something like that. I find that incredible, and we've not covered. We've hardly covered anything. So there you go. There's more. There's more to come.
Lots more to come.
Yeah, here's to the worst part of the season, the international break, and at least come next week, we'll be looking forward to some fixtures at the weekend. So, Jim, thank you very much, and we'll no doubt chat sometime during the week.
Okay.
Play up Sky Blues.
Yeah. Cheerio.
Company dismissed. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Lovely.